Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Medlock Post radio show. This is where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. The views and opinions on the Medlock Post radio show are those of the host and guests. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services. Thank you for joining the show today, and here is your host, Richard G. Medlock.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. O beautiful for pilgrim feet, whose stern impassioned stressed a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 105 on January 20th, 2023. This is the Medlock Post radio show. And I am, proud to say, Richard G. Medlock. This is a Friday, wrapping up a week full of news, full of happenings, and full of updates today. But before we get into all of that,
child of God, he was walking along the road, and I asked him, tell me, where are you going? He told me, said, I'm going down to Yasgur's farm, gonna join in a rock and roll there. Got to get back to the land, set my soul free. We are stars, we are golden, we are pure.
yes, ladies and gentlemen, Woodstock by Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Actually, Young had not joined them yet, but Crosby, Stills, and Nash. David Crosby died yesterday, or the day before, at the age of 81. He was very influential in the music world in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and on. He started with the Byrds. Now, if you're not familiar with the Byrds, BYRDS, they were part of the British invasion of music in the 60s. And David Crosby was one of the co-founding members, and they had beautiful music. They had this sweet sound. So it's great to go listen to. Let's finish this song out. David Crosby passed away at age 81 from Crosby, Stills, Nash, and then Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and original founding fathers or founding member of the Byrds. Great influence on music since the 60s on. Problems in his life. Most people have problems. Anyway, David Crosby, dead. Big report yesterday. Wasn't really reported in too many places. You had to look for this. Matter of fact, I dug it out of the Bureau of Labor and Statistic import that normally they don't report. But here it is. Yesterday, imported fuel oil prices up 19.4%. Imported oil prices up 19.4%. Nope, inflation's waning. No big deal. Don't worry about it. Eggs are at $8.50 a dozen, or depending on where you are, $6 a dozen, if you can find them. I mentioned in the show on Wednesday, this is Friday, that gas prices in our area in the last month have gone up 50 cents a gallon. Well, now they're up in most of the areas so far. The rest will probably catch up today or tomorrow. It's now up 60 cents a gallon in a month. That's 25% increase. But no, inflation's okay. It's going down. I noticed, my wife and I were talking about this. We get a email every Wednesday from one of the big grocery store chains that we shop at, and it's their weekly handout, their weekly folder, flyer. And I started going through it just to see, okay, what's going on? Look at prices. Meat prices are outrageous. And I started noticing, where are the BOGOs? You know, the buy one, get one? They were hard to come by. Even if you went to the BOGO list, it was a much shorter list. But I noticed what they're doing now, it's buy two, get one. Buy two, get one instead of BOGO. Folks, that's inflation. That's inflation. I want to in Wednesday's program, which was a shocker, I've got a lot of feedback from people on this, from holy crap on up. And the one thing I want to make clear here, the WHO, the World Health Organization, is attempting a totalitarian takeover of the world in partnership with the World Economic Forum, the UN, and the central banks, and other people that are involved in this. So, but understand this, and then this is going to play into what we're talking about today, and the title of today's show is A New North America. So hold on to that thought. In the United States, under the Constitution, the President, the Secretary of State, can go out and sign all kind of agreements they want, but until Congress ratifies them with a 2/3 vote, they're worthless. This is why the WHO, in their amendments to the international health regulations, set it up in such a way that the United States could not pass off prior to those amendments being submitted. Keep that in mind too. they've taken the United States out of the authoritarian figure here or position. Think about that. But this is what happened under Obama. Obama was working with the UN. The UN wanted to take over all the ports. They wanted to control all the land activity in the world. They wanted to control the seas. They wanted to control arms. And the United States and Hillary Clinton and John Kerry, when she was Secretary of State, all signed these so-called treaties or declarations or whatever you want to call them. But the Senate would not even bring them up because it was giving away the United States sovereignty and putting it under the control of the United Nations. So now we have the same thing here. So it's interesting, and I said the other day, Joe Biden will not hesitate to sign these new rules if they're passed by 50 plus 1% of the 194 member nations. They become law. The WHO takes over the world. Are we at a point with the Senate of the United States in a position to accept this? We already have 21 GOP Marxists sitting there on top of 50 or 51 Democratic Marxists. So 51 and 21 is 72, and that's 6 more votes than you need to accept that treaty. Are we at that point? I don't know. But it's something that we need to be asking ourselves and something that we need to be writing our senators about and say, stay away from the WHO thing. It sounded like anyway, the WHO thing. So these are things to start asking questions about. I'm going to build on this. But I talked with my friend yesterday who works, her career has been in the healthcare industry. And she says, we have been battling the World Health Organization for years. They have been trying to come in for years to tell Americans what to do. And guess what? That started under Obamacare. And she said, what's happening? Yeah, it comes in as a directions or suggestions. But she says, you would be surprised how many doctors and how many health systems adopt those things that are brought in from the World Health Organization, supported by the Center for Disease Control, or the CDC. And between them, the CDC and the WHO, during the COVID pandemic, they rained havoc on America and the world. Total control, folks. So, do we have enough senators to vote this thing down? Because according to the United States Constitution, the Senate has to ratify any treaties or agreements. 2/3 vote. All right. Questions? I'm just bringing them up. We're here to educate and enlighten and empower, and to get you to think. Because you're not going to hear any of this from anybody else out there. I hate to wait, moving on, I hate to waste time on this. Biden's document fiasco. It was interesting. You just sit here and watch this. But one thing that came up, and finally somebody said it out loud other than me and some others. But Matt Gaetz came out yesterday and he says, it really appears in Washington, D.C., that the Democrats want to get rid of Joe Biden, that they don't want him to run for office again, that they want him gone. He's a liability now, he and his family. Well, Matt Gaetz came out and made it official. Folks, the stories keep changing. The story's changing. When you lie, you can't keep the same story. You forget what you said. And then we find out that from the beginning, Merrick Garland was called and, hey, send the FBI out here. We got these documents. Send the FBI. Oh, no. Just let your attorneys take care of it. You guys go ahead. Did that give them clearance to handle top secret documents? You see this two-sided justice system here? Well, let's put some dots together here. Who is Michael Carpenter? You're going, who, what, huh? Who is Michael Carpenter? Well, let's back up to when Joe Biden was vice president, and he's over in Ukraine, which son Hunter was sitting on a board of a big energy company or oil company, raking in millions of dollars from just sitting on the board. They were funneling money in and out of there, left and right. Ukraine was their bank, basically, to launder money. And prosecutor in Ukraine who opened a case against Hunter Biden and that company for doing illegal things. And Joe Biden was over there visiting, and he held a press and all of this, and he sat there and told us on video, folks, where he tells this. He told the president, it wasn't Zelensky at the time, told the president of Ukraine, you're not getting this $1 billion from the United States until you fire that prosecutor and drop the investigation into Hunter. And I'm leaving in 6 hours, and if it's not done by then, you're not getting the $1 billion. Well, it took them a whole lot less than 6 hours, like 2 or 3. The guy was gone, and Ukraine got their $1 billion. It's interesting that when all that was going on, there were 3 people sitting there. Biden was sitting in the middle. To his right was Michael Carpenter. And he referred to Michael in this announcement as he's controlling everything in the Ukraine for me. He's taking care of all of this. Michael Carpenter, a government employee. Now, where did Michael Carpenter land after Biden left office as vice president? That is correct. He became the director of the Penn Biden think tank, where tons of Chinese money was coming in, and classified documents were sitting there in boxes. Do some dots connect for you now? I hope so. Davos is taking place right now. We're going to address that in more detail Monday, get everything wrapped up over there. it's always interesting to watch what's going on over there. As John Kerry said the other day, the elites of the world, he called themselves. But it's interesting how many Democrat Marxists are over there, how many Democrat governors are over there participating in this. There are some Republicans over there. They were invited, a couple to speak. Manchin gave his speak the other day, Joe Manchin, and the United States needs to expand its oil and gas development to supply to other countries. All right, so that's what's going on over there. But there's one thing one announcement that they made yesterday: strengthening cyber resilience in the oil and gas industry. Well, wait a minute. I thought they were trying to shut down the oil and gas industry. Well, there's a lot of people out there that realize we still need it. And what they're trying to do is they realize that the oil and gas industry uses a variety of complex systems and technologies that are becoming increasingly vulnerable to cyber attacks. And they want to improve the cybersecurity posture of the industry. So they've established the Cyber Resilience in Oil and Gas Initiative. And through this pledge, over 20 global CEOs committed to work together to improve cyber resilience across the ecosystem. Now, we'll go in more detail on this on Monday. But I thought they were trying to shut down oil and gas. Or is that just Joe Biden in the United States? I mean, it just kind of some conflicts there, right? And then another thing that they're setting up, the World Economic Forum has partnered with Microsoft and Accenture to lay the foundations of the Global Collaboration Village, a new metaverse platform aimed at fostering virtual multi-stakeholder cooperation. The Global Collaboration Village has developed with 80 founding village partners who are actively developing the space to allow various stakeholders to engage in peer-to-peer exchanges that will drive structural change. This includes efforts to enable broad participation and foster individual and collective action. Don't forget that word, collective. Designed to be inclusive, transparent, and secure, the platform will be a collaborative space for businesses, international organizations, governments, civil society, and public figures to work together to address some of the world's most critical challenges. It says the Global Collaboration Village will not replace the current in-person activities of the forum, and they're looking at the fourth industrial revolution. Now, that's just the tip of the iceberg that's happening over there, folks. Just the tip of the iceberg that's happening at Davos right now. Davos. Yes, we are moving along. If I don't sneeze. Okay. A couple of things I mentioned. A new North America, ratification, and a couple of other things. What the WHO's trying to do. Well, there's something else that was announced on January 10th. Remember they were having the meeting in Mexico with the Organization of States, Organization of American States, and Biden was there, and everybody else, and he and Mexico and Canada had a few announcements. This is something they didn't announce or was not in the media. But I'm going to get to it. But I want to give you a visualization here. I've been an outdoor person my whole life, up until a few years ago when the legs and the hips and the heart just couldn't take the climbing and backpacking and all that. But I've been in New Mexico and I've been in Utah, either hunting or backpacking, and I have seen mountain lions, and I've seen the results of what mountain lions can do to another animal, like an antelope. They have these great big huge paws, and they swipe at your face, your neck, your jugular. This one antelope that we came across, its jaw was about 30, 40 feet away. It just took the jaw right off the antelope. That's how powerful they are. But how do they operate? A mountain lion stalks its prey. You can have a herd of antelope or whatever it is, and then the weak one starts to fall back and gets further and further behind. And then that's when the mountain lion pounces. When the herd has moved on, they pounce. They'll do the same thing with humans. When that's what, when we were out backpacking, we said, let's stay together. Don't leave 2 or 3 people or one person too far behind when we were in mountain lion country. So they wait for the weakest before they attack, that weakest is alone. Because they know if they attack the herd in whole, they will be destroyed themselves or fought off and no lunch. So I started thinking about this. Have the globalists decided that through Obama and Biden and the deep state and Democratic Marxists in the House and the Senate, and with the southern border being open and millions of migrants just invading the United States and its economy struggling, cutting back on oil and gas production and not being energy independent like we were 2 years ago, have the globalists come to a conclusion that the United States is now weak enough that it has fallen behind from where it was as a strength, that the globalists can now swoop in and take over the United States. Something to think about. I don't think we're there. I think there's plenty of we the people that are going to fight all of this stuff tooth and nail. But the globalists might be like that mountain lion and saying, hey, we've finally weakened America enough that we can go in and take over. We talk about the WHO, the World Economic Forum, the CDC, which is our own government, the Federal Reserve, the Marxists that are in our unelected positions and elected positions, the United Nations and its influence, they're doing, and all these regulations just to shut everybody down, to weaken everybody, to weaken businesses. I know it sounds terrible, doesn't it? It's not as bad as it sounds. But those people are there trying to do these things since Obama, well, since Clinton. Actually, since Woodrow Wilson. And then it was escalated under FDR. So January 10th, there was an announcement with Joe Biden, Prime Minister of Canada Justin Trudeau, and President of Mexico Obrador. On January 10th, 2023, yes, 10 days ago, before Davos started, the Declaration of North America, DNA, was issued by the three presidents of North America, by Joe Biden, a puppet of the globalist who is destroying the integrity and sovereignty of the United States in the interest of the globalist and Xi Jinping, by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, another treacherous stand-in for the global gods, President of Mexico Obrador, a third puppet of the international cartels and their globalist allies, including Communist China. Yeah, you're shaking your head. We're here to educate. You need to know what's going on. It's just like with your children. You always want to know what's going on with your children, right? We need to know what's going on with our government. This article was written by Peter and Ginger Breggin, Breggin, on January 16th. The Declaration of North America feeds the globalist New World Order to end U.S. sovereignty. Now, George W. Bush tried to do this when he was in office. That's the son. When he signed with Canada and Mexico the North American Union, which combined the three countries into one government, one currency, one law. Do away with the United States Constitution. They would rewrite another constitution for another country. That didn't go anywhere because there were enough people in Congress. Nah, we're not going to support that, even though Bush signed it. Now, Biden, along with Trudeau and Obrador, have signed this. Let's go to the article by Peter and Ginger. No Wall, No America. One of the most telling sections of the agreement for the new North America is their attitudes to migration. Basically, the three presidents want what sounds like unlimited migration, and of course, most of it will be clamoring to the United States. We've been seeing that for the last 2 years, haven't we? Since June, Mexico and the United States and Canada have collectively welcomed record numbers of migrants and refugees from the Western Hemisphere, and I'm going to stop there, not only the Western Hemisphere, but the Middle East and China and Asia. It's just not limited to the Western Hemisphere. And I keep saying, how do these Iranians and Iraqis get over here? They didn't take a rowboat and come over here. They had to be flown over to Mexico to come into the United States. Who's doing that? Apparently, these three countries. Anyway, under new and expanded labor and humanitarian programs. The other day I mentioned that Joe Biden made a new law on his own whereby Americans can sponsor migrants to come into the United States. Under the immigration laws, they can't do that. And he sent it to Congress last year, and Congress didn't want anything to do with it. So here we have this DNA, this Declaration of North America, that wants to enhance and expand migration for labor and humanitarian programs. Well, you're not buying that, I hope. Today, we affirm our joint commitment to, this is from them, today we affirm our joint commitment to safe, orderly, and humane migration. Well, where is it? What's the plan? There's been nothing orderly and safe and humane about it. Yesterday, it was reported that the drug cartels in the last year have made $31 billion bringing people into the United States, making them pay them. This includes assisting host communities and promoting migrant and refugee integration, providing protection to refugees, asylum seekers, and vulnerable migrants. Let me stop there. Asylum seekers. Remember, he came out last week and says, oh, we have an app. Go on the app, click the right boxes, seek an asylum, and we'll send you a plane ticket. Strengthening asylum capacity in the region, going back to that phone app, expanding and promoting regular pathways for migration and protection, addressing the root causes and impacts of irregular migration and forced displacement, and collaborating to counter xenophobia and the discrimination against migrants and refugees. Well, folks, I don't see a lot of xenophobia and discrimination against migrants and refugees. What I see is a fight against our government to do it right, to follow the immigration laws of the United States and shut the border and bring them in like they're supposed to come in. You make application, you get vetted, and then if in a few years, as you wait in line like everybody else has been doing, then maybe you can come in. They're throwing all of this away, playing right into the hands of the globalists. If you're wondering exactly what they're getting at, that was answered at the press conference following the meetings when Mexico's president generated multiple headlines like this, quote, Mexican president thanks Biden for not building 1 meter of border wall. During the past summit press conference, President Lopez Obrador said he was grateful toward President Joe Biden for being the first U.S. president in a long time who has not built even 1 meter of wall between their respective countries. Wow. That should have been a headline, folks, on all the news media in America. Joe Biden fails to protect America and supports Mexico. Well, Joe, go to Mexico. Go down there and run for president. See how long the drug cartels take care of you. Because that's who's running Mexico. People need to stop believing that Biden and other officials are making mistakes or blunders rather than making decisions on behalf of globalism to weaken America and favor other countries at the invasion over our southern border is no mistake. Folks, we've been saying that ever since it started. This was planned. This is what they want to do. They want to destroy America. I remember on my previous radio show, people would call in and say, Obama, he doesn't know what he's doing. He shouldn't be in office. He has no idea what he's doing. And I say, I'm sorry. He knows exactly what he's doing. And it falls under fundamentally transforming America. Understand this, folks. This is all planned. This is no accident. The progressive U.S. government wants to flood the nation with grateful illegal immigrants who will make the progressives the dominant American party for eternity. In the meanwhile, they will they will be softening up the nation with domestic strife, and one of those crises too good to ignore. Remember the 5 words? Chaos, fear, division, hatred, violence. Those are the 5 words the globalists love to see happening. No wall to protect America turns America into a nation that can no longer support itself. A nation with a growing population that sends much of its earnings back to its desperate families in their countries of origin. That increasingly has little identification with American traditions and little understanding of its founding documents, and that lacks the education to increase our prosperity rather than draining it. That's a loaded paragraph and a loaded sentence. We are just handing money over to the illegal immigrants left and right. Free medical. They get a Social Security card. They get a green card. They don't have to speak English. We don't even check them for diseases anymore, if we ever did. Then they come in here. Are they producers? The system, right? Overwhelm the system. And then the Democratic Marxists are adding more and more Americans onto the welfare roll. They're literally paying people not to work. Literally. No wall, no America, and welcome to the Declaration of North America, in which America can no longer lift up its neighbors, but instead gradually or rapidly sinks into a condition worse than ever imagined, dragging the world further down with us. Folks, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to wake you up to fight all this. Not only do we need to be telling our congressmen and senators, don't support the WHO and don't support this Declaration of North America. Fight against it. All right. Here's the overall vision for North America. This is the final paragraph of their agreement. It's titled Looking Forward. The commitments made during the summit are rooted in a shared vision for a more equitable, just, inclusive, resilient, secure, and prosperous North America, and a shared responsibility to achieve more equitable outcomes responsive to the needs and aspirations of our citizens. Folks, I just read to you what socialism is. Back to this paragraph. As we work to implement these commitments in the upcoming year, not years, year, we seek to model a democratic and sustainable path based on trust to promote inclusive prosperity and security. Mexico, the United States, and Canada look forward to building on this progress at the 11th North American Leaders Summit to be hosted by Canada. Folks, I just read the definition of socialism to you. So let's go back. For those unfamiliar with globalist pronouncements consistent with progressivism, which is socialism, these are the kinds of ideas promoted by the United Nations and World Health Organization, by Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab through the World Economic Forum, and increasingly implemented through the Great Reset. And the European Union, they're going to get caught up in this. They already are. England tried to get out of it, and I don't know how far out of it they really are. There's an article came out that I posted it yesterday that England's trying to do everything they can before they lose their freedom. The opening sentence of the above quote is full of code words that signal collectivism in contrast to individual freedom or political liberty. Here are the code words in bold. A shared vision for a more equitable, just, inclusive, resilient, secure, and prosperous North America, and a shared responsibility to achieve more equitable outcomes responsive to the needs and aspirations of our citizens. Yeah, I read it twice, so you will understand that. And they're really not code words, not if you know what you're talking about. And then again, there's studies that show that half the people in America would choose to live under socialism instead of capitalism. And I don't know if you've noticed in Davos this week, it has been a massive attack on capitalism from every side. This stuff is not borrowed from the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights, with its emphasis on personal responsibility and individual freedom. There is nothing in this summary or in the whole Declaration of North America about respecting individualism, individual freedom, and political liberty. Remember, when I was going through the WHO, they took out the individualism, the private personal stuff, and the humane treatment. They took that all out of their new proposal. They're doing it here. There is nothing about freedom as the engine of progress. No freedom, folks. There is nothing about increasing freedom of opportunity rather than empowering leadership to provide or lead the progress. Put everything in the hands of the elites and you just fall in. Let me play this from Obama again.
And for the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
That's what you're seeing in this document. There is nothing about increasing, there is nothing about the inviolability or inalienability of individual rights because they are from God and nature's God as expressed in the Declaration of Independence. These people that are doing this, the globalists and all, do not believe in God. They are our gods. They are our religion. And that's the way they want it. And we need to bow to them. Surrender, as Obama said. 3 power-hungry North American presidents are not about to set us free. Governments and their leaders cannot guarantee an equitable, just, inclusive, resilient, secure, and prosperous North America and a shared responsibility to achieve more equitable outcomes. Their predations have always led to the horrors of communism and continue to do so around the world, from Cuba and North Korea to China. In fact, one could search for an almost infinite amount of time and never find anything in documents produced by the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, or the Chinese Communist Party that even echo the principles in our Constitution and Bill of Rights, which utterly reject authoritarianism and totalitarian governances or empire building. So I go back to the question. Have the globalists come to a conclusion that the United States is weak enough now, been destroyed enough now, that they can take us over? I, for one, say no, we're not. we shall very consistently find that the globalists, whether coming from the left or the right, are more interested in promoting collectivist ideas than individual freedom, and republics are constitutional democracies or constitutional republics, which we are. That is because the globalists seek wealth and power by monopolizing wealth and power, which is what the WHO is trying to do right now. The UN is part of it. The World Economic Forum is part of it. And the central banks are part of it, which they can more easily do through authoritarian or totalitarian governments than through ones that protect their citizens and are ruled by laws instead of people. They do not like free people. They want servants. They want slaves. They want you bowing to them. Oh, please, master, please don't throw me in the briar patch today. Freedom attorney Todd Callender alerted us to the Declaration of North America on January 14th. He wrote in his email, "This is Biden's declaration that the United States no longer exists. It is the end of U.S. sovereignty. And it's only one of many ways that Biden is very intentionally giving away our sovereignty, as demonstrated by our efforts to alert people and to work against the government's attempts to give up our healthcare system to the World Health Organization," which we talked about on Wednesday. Now, here's the kicker now, folks. The evil is unleashed. The mountain lion is ready to pounce. There is no way to deny its specter anymore. It is more akin to a fog of war or perhaps a cloud of toxic particles descending on humanity. It's happening now. Freedom is the oxygen of humanity, and they are sucking it out of our lives. We will soon be asphyxiated by global totalitarianism. Not if we, the people, have a say here. There are important reasons to hope. If the state protects individual freedom and political liberty, it comes as close as any government can to unleashing the creative powers of free people. Unleash the creative powers of free people. This is what the Founding Fathers did with the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. Unleashed the creative powers of free people, and look what happened. People who have made more progress for humanity since the founding of America than all of previous history, in which the vast majority of people lived under stultifying tyranny. But first, we must face the enormity of the current challenge to America as the land of the free, and we must understand its strategies. Then we can fully appreciate the steps we must take to defend, restore, and advance freedom in this nation and throughout the world. That's where we are, folks. That's where we are today. That's why I read the first two verses of America the Beautiful to start the program. And I'm going to read the last two verses at the end. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Strength comes not from winning. Your troubles develop your strength. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength." And we need to pull from that. We need to pull together as a free people and fight this. I know in my circle, nobody's ready to surrender America yet. Nobody. And they're willing to do what it takes to save America and the principles of the Constitution. We do not have a lot of good leadership in D.C. They're puppets. Kevin McCarthy should be out there denouncing this. Matt Gaetz, Ted Cruz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Bobbitt, they should all be out here denouncing this. Where are they? Where are they? Yeah. This is where the rubber meets the road, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we need to be looking over our shoulder and saying, where's that mountain lion? Let's set a trap for the mountain lion so he doesn't eat us. You know? Let's set a trap for the mountain lion. That's where we are right now. He's out there, the globalists are ready to pounce on America. Now, let's look at Canada. For me, we can talk about Mexico. They're run by the drug cartels. They're running the border, making $31 billion a year, charging fees to bring people across, bringing all the drugs in. Yeah. But let's look at Canada. Trudeau is a dictator now. He has turned into a dictator. He's tried to ban guns, and that's not going too well. He's trying, though. They now can euthanize anybody they want to in Canada. That means they kill them. For instance, some of the stories was some lady in her 40s went into the hospital, and because she didn't have full mental capacity, they decided to euthanize her. Didn't need permission from the family. They just went in, gave her the drug, and she died because she was not a productive human being anymore, in their opinion. Someone over 70 or 65 or 60 needs a heart transplant. What do you think they're going to do now? Euthanize them? Probably. Remember I talked about this overpopulation thing on Wednesday? This is a big push now. Oh, we're overpopulated. Nobody have any more babies. There's a push for that. We need all these people to die off and get down to the elite again. This is insanity, folks. Total, absolute insanity. This greatest generation, my parents and some of your grandparents, would be just beside themselves with what's going on right now. I'm sure they're in heaven watching this, just shaking their heads. I'm sure my dad's looking at me saying, how did you let this happen? Why didn't you do more? I can hear him now. Yeah, it's tough, folks. Oh, beautiful, for heroes proved. in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. O beautiful for patriot dream, that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. And that, folks, is the Medlock Post radio show for today. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Thank you, and have a great day and a great weekend. Goodbye.